Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
The San Diego Council on Literacy brings you Literacy for All with your host, Jose Cruz.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Jose Cruz from the San Diego Council on Literacy. You're listening to the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio, and our guest is Sharin Yetman. She is the, let me try this, AmeriCorps Seniors Director for Catholic Charities. Close enough?
Very good.
I'm like done all the scribbling and all that, so I think I highlighted the right information. Sharin, let's talk about how your program works, how you find the seniors who are working in the program, what they do, where they go, how do you prepare them to do what they do, and what are the challenges involved. So you got a whole lot to work with there.
Okay, I feel like I need to talk a little bit about when it started because It's quite the legacy program, you know?
I want to hear this.
It's a living legacy, but so in 1965, it was an initiative co-authored by Lyndon Johnson and Sergeant Shriver. Shriver sounds familiar?
Oh, yeah, I remember, was it Vista? It was Vista, wasn't it? Or Peace Corps?
Maria Shriver, it was actually foster grandparent. That was the first program. And they did a pilot, and that pilot happened to be with the Catholic Charities agency in Illinois.
Oh.
And it was such a unique story. They meaning, this pilot, whoever was running it, probably Sergeant Shriver and people under him, chose back then in the 60s, they had facilities that were, now we would just, it would be atrocious to know that kids were put in these facilities with the barbed wire fences and SED children, severely emotionally disturbed. And so these 21 grandparents were placed in this facility for a year. And after a year, all of them were still there. And they call it volunteering. Okay, so they call them, the actual participants in the program, volunteers. But they're really participants. Mm-hmm. They're not necessarily volunteers. They receive a stipend, tax deferred. But at any rate, it was kind of the financial part was run through the Employment Security Department and unemployment, the employment, I guess, office. Mm-hmm. That's where they got their checks from. Mm-hmm. So after a year, the grandparents were there, and they noted that a significant percentage, and forgive me, I can't remember exactly what that was, were able to go home from the work that the grandparents did.
The children were able to go home.
Volunteer, they were able to go home. Mm-hmm. 20 hours a week was the initial start of the number of hours per week that they would volunteer. And, they were able to go home. So it's like, wow, this was amazing. And there were so many needs, too, not that there aren't now, for children in these facilities, orphanages. Do we have orphanages now?
I don't hear that word much anymore. Yeah.
We have group homes.
Recover, what's called, not recovery homes. What are these called? Polinsky. What was that before?
Oh, receiving home.
Receiving home, yes.
Yeah, for actually a lot of foster kids end up in receiving homes. Mm-hmm. So anyway, they started placing the grandparents and creating these projects, and mostly back east. Mm-hmm. And so they kind of came on like beacons, throughout the eastern seaboard and then Midwest. And by 1972, they were out here on the West Coast. And Catholic Charities here in San Diego was one of the first cities that actually started up a foster grandparent program. So that's a little history.
Wow.
That goes with that.
Wow. And do you have any information, do you know the history in terms of where the first assignments were happening here in San Diego?
Hmm.
You do, all right.
Yeah, actually do. A lot of preschools. St. Vincent de Paul was one of the first. Child Care Center, and then National City Preschool, San Ysidro Preschool, and several. Greg Rogers Elementary was one of the first. Initially, there were a lot of placements with and for children with disabilities, and Greg Rogers is the perfect school for that type of placement. And although their structure has changed quite a bit, but as time went on, especially when I came in, I thought we're going to need to shake this up a little bit. There's a lot more populations that need help.
Mm-hmm.
So adding on foster youth, adding on children, parents in prison, adding on children being raised by their grandparents, adding on juvenile hall, adjudicated youth, and at-risk teens. And so more balanced, and ESL learners.
Mm-hmm.
So everywhere I looked, I saw these populations, and it's like we need to help in that area. We need to be part of the change we want to create, right, Gandhi?
Right.
And so we did. And so starting up more projects in more areas that definitely made a huge impact, and we are still there. We're still in juvenile hall. San Diego was tough to break open. There was a lot of red tape, unfortunately, and when we tried, it wasn't going to work. I worked for 3 months on trying to get into juvenile hall here, but it's different, and I understand concerns, but it's different than Imperial Valley in a lot of ways. One is Imperial Valley is a very resource poor area, high poverty.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I do go to where poverty is, and that is, one of my calling cards too. Is poverty is always wanting to, help the poor anywhere we can, and I can. I've done that for a lot of years too.
Mm-hmm.
So a tight knit community, very few resources. So approaching, areas of need. They don't have a lot of red tape. They say, okay, how can we do this? You tell us how we can work together.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's the way things happen there.
Yeah, we like that style.
Not as much red tape.
Yeah, we like that.
Yeah, me too.
So Sharin, you showed up because the program came to San Diego. How long after that did you show up?
I started in 2000.
Okay. Oh, got it.
So 20 years ago.
And do you recollect how many sites were being served at that time versus today?
I think there were 15. I think there were 15 or 16. And now we have 30. Very
good. And I don't know how often this happens, but just from the end of the children, any kind of information, feedback, people visiting, saying, "Hey, I was one of these foster grandparents helped me when I was a child, when I was 8, when I was 12, when I was in juvenile hall." Do you ever get any of those, or people?
Oh my goodness! Oh yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. I was surprised. Okay.
I hear that. Yeah, no, I hear this, and the grandparents always tell me. But I love to hear these stories. One was a grandma on a bus, Kenny Marshall, and she actually volunteered until she was in her 90s. And she was a kick. I just adored her. And she was on the bus, and she said, "Here comes this tall boy, handsome boy."
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, he sure looks familiar, but I can't remember. And he says, "Grandma Penny?"
Oh, man.
She goes, "Yes." He goes, "Do you remember me?" And she said, "I said yes, but I didn't, because you know how many hundreds of kids
Right.
From the time he was like probably 6 years old, and he remembered her.
Oh.
And she goes, "Yeah, I'm doing this and that. I got a family and, 2 kids." And she's just like, I was just so thrilled. And then another grandma was at the grocery store in Imperial County, and she's a kick too. So she's in juvenile hall, and they have lots of stories, and they have a lot of heartache too that goes with that. But then at the same time, there's a lot of joy and celebration because of the change they make,
right?
And help the kids find the path. So there's another young man who, in a suit, he came and taps her, and he goes, "Grandma Grace," and she goes, "Yes." He said, "I'm Carlos. You remember me?" And she said the same thing.
Yeah.
I thought I didn't really remember him because he was probably 14. And he said he's a manager of, some store in San Diego, and he's got 2 kids. He goes, I was so proud of him. So, yeah, they do, and they remember. They make such an impact. Well, they are placed with them for the entire year.
Right. So that's a long time.
In a school.
Yeah.
But at juvenile hall, they come and go.
Right. It's
And this is kind of an interesting detail, too. When I first started that site, it was in 2005.
And Sharon, I'm going to ask you to hold right there because we're going to have to go to break. So I want to hear the rest of this story.
Oh, okay.
And I want to hear, what are the foster grandparents doing? So we'll get to that. We're going to go into our last segment. You're listening to the Literacy for All radio show. On WS Radio, we have Sharin Yetman from the Foster Grandparents Program. She has one more segment with us, and we're going to get into another one of those stories, as well as learning what services are being provided, how are the young people being helped. So we're on WS Radio, the worldwide leader in Internet talk.
I've heard this is like one of the best pizza spots in town.
Yes, it is.
I'll do a slice of pepperoni, slice of vegetarian.
You got it.
And I will pay for all of that in 3 days.
In 3 days? What's that mean?
Well, wait, you accept credit cards. That money's not going to hit your account for 3 days anyway.
I need my money quicker.
At Chase, we hear you. With Express Funding, card payments are in your Chase account the next business day. Go to chase.com/expressfunding. Chase for business, so you can.
Compensated participation. All businesses are subject to credit approval. Not all clients are eligible for next business day funding, and additional terms, conditions, and restrictions apply.
Donate cash, furniture, clothes, and other gently used household items to Father Joe's Villages and get a nice tax break in April. Every donation is tax deductible. Believe you can make a difference. Be Father Joe. Go to neighborhood.org or call 1-800-HOMELESS to donate today.
Life is full of misadventures, from car crashes to home fires to getting choked out on the mat. Yes, I said getting choked out because I'm Carlos Kramer, jiu-jitsu competitor, MMA and media personality, and mild-mannered insurance agent. You can follow my adventures on Kick-Ass Radio, and I can protect you from life's misadventures at Kramer Insurance. Home, auto, life, business, and workers' comp. We're at KramerINS.com, and I want you to join my world.
This is Bill Gruber with Bizvid Communications, a Southern California video production leader. We've been honored to sponsor, produce, write, and host many of the fine programs on WS Radio over the years. So we understand how important the internet and your website exposure are. As video producers, we know the tricks and secrets to incorporate video to increase your search engine optimization and business success. Visit bizvidcommunications.com to see what we can do for you. BIZVID communications.com.
Too much to do? Not enough time to get it done? Call on the experts at Another 8 Hours for your business support needs. By partnering with Another 8 Hours, we allow you to focus on the more important matters, like being in front of your clients, doing what you do best, rather than being stuck at a desk poring over paperwork, rummaging through emails, returning phone calls, and struggling to get everything done by yourself. Meanwhile, your family and social life are going down the drain. Go to another8hours.com or call 8 more hours. That's 866-734-6877.
Hi, this is Rob Barnett, VinVillage.com, where wine lovers connect. Be sure to tune in weekly to Vin Village Radio for exclusive, in-depth interviews with the who's who in wine and food.
Can you imagine a world without children? A world where children don't play, or dream, or imagine?
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're working every day to find cures for diseases that strike down children. Because we can't imagine a world without children. Can you?
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. To learn how you can help, log on to our website stjude.org.
Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
The San Diego Council on Literacy brings you Literacy for All with your host, Jose Cruz.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Jose Cruz from the San Diego Council on Literacy. You're listening to the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio. We've been talking to Sharin Yetman. She is the director of the AmeriCorps Senior program for Catholic Charities in San Diego. Sharin, I was just thinking during the break, you have at least one book in you. You absolutely do. So I don't know if you've thought about doing that.
Maybe I can do that when I retire. I'll start writing books.
Yeah, well, take your time with that because we need you out there. So finish telling this story. We'll take one more story, and I know we could use a bunch of these. It's just so inspiring.
Okay, I think this is an impactful one because talk about oftentimes children that are overlooked in youth is our kids that are in the system. So this happened. So I was approached by someone that works at juvenile hall at the time in Imperial Valley and said, we would love to have grandparents in juvenile hall. And I said, tell me where and when, and I'll be there. So anyway, I had written a special grant for additional foster grandparents in Imperial County, and I got it. So I was excited about serving this population group because it's a mix. I mean, everybody's in there. The foster youth are in there, all different types of needs of kids. And so I got the grant, and they were like all over it. Yes, we want grandparents here. So the issue area was to reduce the recidivism rate. That was the outcome we were after.
Right.
So the recidivism rate was going up the first year, and I'm like, what? What's happening? Because I'm hearing all the stories of success,
right.
And turning these kids' lives around. And so what happened is one of the grandparents asked this young girl, Mija, she says, why do you keep coming back? He said, looks like you're doing this on purpose. And she says, I am. She goes, I want to see you. I want to talk to you.
Oh, man.
And we find out that was the common thing going on. So it's like, oh, whoops, we have to do something here. This is not going to be, no, we can't have this. So another grant and help with them, with the system, and we wrote another grant together as a collaborative and had grandparents placed at all 3 community schools through alternative ed. So the kids in juvenile hall go directly. They don't go back to traditional school for some time, sometimes not ever, but they go straight to community school, and they would be placed with the grandparents. So that worked. That was a very positive way of making things happen and just looking at it in a different way and redesigning,
Yeah. So tell me, Sharin, what is the magic? What is it that the foster grandparents are doing? Because we know some of them may or may not have teaching experience or counseling and all that, but they're successful and they're succeeding with a tough population of young people.
I have to say it's the sense of purpose that they get up in the morning with and the genuine love that they have for these kids and non-judgmental, and they want them to have a better life. And that's their driver. That's what they do. And, it's unfortunate right now that we're not able to do it in that way because of COVID. And, last year, the fiscal year, we served 600 kids. So I'm not sure what we're going to do this year. Lots of unknowns.
Yeah.
But that is the driving force. They want to make a difference in the community is a broad statement, and the individual lives of the kids they serve.
Well,
they want their kids to grow up happy.
Yeah, and I know in a lot of cases the children the young people. They're not getting that love, and we know the power of love. Sharon,
the power of love,
yeah,
Jose. I got to tell you though, the power of reading too.
Well, I was going to say this is a literacy show.
Literacy. We got to throw literacy in.
I was going to say you beat me to it.
That's our core. That's the core of our program. Yeah, is watching that light bulb go on, and they got it. So if they're not reading well, the way the stats are out there, third grade, they're not going to do well, for the rest of their academic career. So, yeah, we're after those success stories with reading.
Yes, and it's a conversation we are having more lately. It's like, if we just help them learn to read, and it's like, no, there's a lot that comes before that. There's a lot.
Yes, there is.
Right, and the affect.
The relationship.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it just being in an environment where you're more comfortable and you have people around you who care and such. So it's good.
And they know that. And you asked about where we find the volunteers. Yes. We find them wherever seniors go. But we are very particular about who we bring into the program because it has to be a genuine interest in our mission, as far as changing the lives of kids. And academically, emotionally, whatever it might be, helping them with healthier options. But you know it when you see it.
Mm-hmm.
You know when there's someone that is genuinely interested in making a difference.
So
and that's what we do.
Yeah,
they are trained too.
Oh yeah, they're trained. Tell our listeners though, just it's like you want this program, we want this program to go on. How's the funding? What is the sustainability of this program? Let's say we have another year, another bad COVID year. Will all of this return once the coast is clear?
I have to say my heart says yes. The funder has been very generous with actually continually paying their stipend, even though they've been unable to serve, the sites. And it's relative. It's relative to cause and effect. What happens with the schools? Do they open, they close, they open, they close? When they open, there will still be a transition period before they allow volunteers to come in. But we are working on virtual. And the way I see it and the way my colleagues see it all over the United States, because this is a national program, they see it the same way. I know that a lot of the grandparents want that one-on-one in the classroom, but for a while that's not going to happen, so we're doing the next best thing. And all of our grandparents have been trained on Zoom, and we're working forward and training them to go into the classroom virtually.
Amazing. Sharon, we got about a minute left. Any last famous words, things that you want to say about your program?
I would just have to say that, I can't say enough about the foster grandparents. I would need another radio show.
Right. We could do that.
And I would, because they're so dedicated and they're hanging in here. I've lost a few because they said I didn't sign up for that, the virtual part. Mm-hmm. Like, I get it. I didn't either.
Yeah.
But this is what we have. And creating other opportunities as well for the ones that really don't have the capacity to go into the virtual arena. But having the sites be helpful with that, because they love the grandparents. They miss them. And they still need the grandparents because it's tough on the kids at home with distance learning. So I think we'll get there. It's just going to take time.
Very
it's
good.
a process.
I'm going to stop you now, but give us a website people can go to before we get cut off.
Yeah, www.ccdsd.org.
Very good. Sharin Yetman, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jose.
You're welcome. You've been listening to the Literacy for All radio show on WS Radio, the worldwide leader in Internet talk.